Did you get it? Is it on?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Taking Over the World. What's up?
What is happening, good sir? That was loud.
I know. It was a great sports weekend.
I feel like you're aggressive this morning.
I am.
That was loud. You already threw the mic at my face. Hey, are you going to be okay?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Are you still a little bent up that the Raiders almost beat the Dolphins?
Ooh. Touche.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Okay.
No, I'm not. We won. At the end of the day, does the score really matter or just a W?
Tomato, tomato.
It's a W, man. That's all that matters.
So it's a moral victory for the Raiders.
That's it. They felt
Should
good
be
about
a
themselves.
demoralizing victory for the Dolphins. The Dolphins probably got a lot to talk about today in film session.
Probably. They're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Is that why you wore your Miami watch today?
Of course.
Jesus.
Miami shirt underneath.
Hey, Sus, you beat the Raiders by 7 and you want to rock your Dolphins watch? It's an aggressive take.
Wow. Well, I don't have a Verstappen watch.
There you go. Hey, okay.
I don't have an F1 watch. Sorry.
Sorry. Hot topic of the weekend.
Partners.
F1 comes to Vegas. Partners, we'll get there.
Yeah.
You guys were not huge fans. Didn't know a lot about it. I shouldn't say not huge fans. You just didn't know much about the sport. Didn't really watch the sport until this weekend following it. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
Correct. So, yeah, I'm not a huge sports racing fan in general. Our youngest son, Brandon, is a huge racing fan. Okay. He loves all kind of racing. And then watching the comments from the Red Bull drivers for the whole week, for the whole 3-4 days in Vegas, and how Vegas is more 99% show and 1% race, and it wasn't about the racing and the fans, it was about the show and how. I mean, what do you expect when you come to Vegas? I mean, what is Vegas? It's Sin City. It's a show city. It's what we are.
Right.
Are we not? I mean, we're not like beaches and no, we are gambling, bright lights. You drive down the strip at 2:00 in the morning and it looks like 4:00 in the afternoon because of all the lights.
I'm asleep at 2:00 in the morning. I'm not driving down the street at 2:00 in the morning.
Have you? You haven't been like that your whole life. You went to ASU, buddy. You did have a time.
Which means I don't really remember what happened at 2 a.m. a lot of the time.
Fair point. But that led me to believe it was funny because we talk a lot about partnerships and things that happen. And I'm looking at the Red Bull, right? And you have Verstappen. He's just stone cold killer face, and
that's how he rolls, man.
They're talking about what's gonna happen, and he's talking about Vegas is not a race city; it's all about the show, and he's serious. And then you have Perez or Checo, and he's in the background.
That's my guy.
He's waving his hand. He's super happy. Like it was different.
Checo wakes up in the morning just happy he's. I mean, that dude lives. I mean, he is the only Mexican driver in F1. He's living, baby.
But that's that again now brings us to power partners, right?
Yep.
You have the one serious, just intense guy, and then you have the other guy that's just as intense. I'm not going to say they're not intense,
sure,
but they're friendlier and they're a little easier to talk to, and
they have different ways of going about their business.
Correct. They're a little nicer. They're a little easier to talk to. You know, and then we were talking last week about power partnerships, like Snoop Dogg and Martha.
So we got, okay, so you're talking power partners now. I mean, are we okay to name the top 3 current power partners that we're aware of?
Yeah.
Okay, what are the top 3?
You and I, that's one.
Okay. Check over here. Right.
Listen. That's
but we shouldn't even call them the top 3. The 3 power partners that we've talked about besides us right now is that we've been ongoing. We're down with the power partnership of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
So that's one group.
Okay, that's
but
one group.
Travis is lucky though because he has 2 power partnerships.
Oh.
And again, it brings the intensity back, right?
Are you talking about Mahomes and Mojado?
No.
Okay.
No, not Mahomes and Mojado.
Okay.
The Kelce brothers.
Oh, fair.
You have
Dual
Jason,
power partners.
because you have Jason, who's serious, a lot more intense, and you have Travis, who's the hey, what's going on? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even and I think that's a really good dynamic because you have Jason, who's intense, Still funny, still can get along with people because he's not a bad guy. He's not a mean guy to everybody. But he's a lot more intense than his brother.
Right. What's interesting about, before we go to the mystery third power partner, the Checo Verstappen power partner, what's really cool about it is that, as you're starting to now learn a little bit about F1, right? There's 10 teams, 2 drivers per team. Everybody has a pretty clear-cut number 1, and someone's got to be the number 2 driver. And that's what gets teams in trouble. Like Mercedes a couple years, I felt that, Bottas and Lewis, Lewis was the clear-cut 1, and Bottas wanted to be the number 1, and there was a conflict. Then he shipped out. Now he stinks, and, Mercedes is going down. Checo was just like, cool, guys, I'm here. Like I'm the number 2. And there's been a couple things back and forth, but when you understand your role, if you understand and you stay true to yourself, whether it's racing, football, real estate, insurance, more like when you go out there and you're true to yourself and you don't try to put on this facade and you go out there and be you, it's like, okay, Max has his style. Boom. He's now a 3-time world champion, back to back to back, right? Clinched that a couple of weeks ago. Right. He's done. So, but Checo comes in, he plays his role. And by playing his role and saying, listen, I'm a solid number 2. I'm going to do my job. Could I be a number 1 somewhere? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a team principal. I don't know. But instead of going to fight to be a number 1 somewhere on a crappy team, he's like, dude, I'm good with number 2. And so what does it cause? That dynamic has created a locked up number 1 for the year in Max, now a locked up number 2 in Checo for the year. And the Constructors' Cup is locked up. So by everybody working together and understanding the role, they got a 1, a 2, and you literally can't do any better. No. It's a clean sweep, And so if you're Team Red Bull, I'm Team Red Bull. Shout out Checo. Right? Like why not? Like it's kind of like football. You could be a number 1 receiver, and then the number 2, right? So you're the number 2 guy, right? But you're on, let's just call it right now, you got the Eagles or the Chiefs, right? Like you're the number 2 on one of those. Like, no, man, my ego. We go back to the 3-letter word that we've been talking about for months, right? Right. My ego gets in. It's like, nah, man, I'm a number 1. All right, bro, go be a number 1. You're now on the Cardinals. I'm a Cardinals fan, right? But it's like you're number 1 on the Cardinals or the Patriots now all of a sudden, right? It's like, do you really want to be that number 1? And on those teams? Or are you okay understanding your role, being the best number 2 you can be, filling out, and you're part of maybe the best number 2 on the best team, and you got a chance to go win the whole dang thing.
He'll waddle.
Waddle
could be a number 1 anywhere. But he's a number 1.
And he probably pushes. I'm a big believer in the iron sharpens iron. So right, he's becoming better because he's going and getting reps on Tyreek Hill every week, right? Right. Tyreek's getting better because he's pushing. He's like, dude, I don't even want there to be a question who's the number 1 on this team. And next thing you know,
everybody's
Dolphins
better.
Beat the Raiders by 7. Oh, sorry, wrong topic. But that's how
you're gonna throw that out there.
It's and we had these conversations even Thursday and Friday last week when we were putting in some new listings. We were going through some escrow, some offers and stuff. We were having you were trying to chime in on some things. I was like, oh crap, I didn't even know that. Right, and it helped us fine tune some things. We're all kind of having these conference calls with other agents to get our offers accepted, and we're all learning from each other instead of being like, hey, no, I got this, let me do it my way. Right. We're all learning from each other, and all of a sudden our team's getting stronger. Mercy comes in one day as I'm getting ready to send something out for DocuSign, an offer going out not in the last minute, but it was the last thing before we're leaving the office, and she's like, oh, why don't you just do this, this, and this? It's like, oh, I've always done it this way. Well, what about this? She's like, go ahead and do it your way. I'm like, no, I want to do it that way. Your way was much better. I just didn't know. Right. But being accepting of having that partner, if you're going to be in a power partner setup, whether it's business, sports, relationship, you have to understand that the relationship is a 2-way street, and you have to be open, check your ego at the door, and be willing to accept your role and accept the help that comes along with it.
Well, like you said, we're learning from each other, right? So you were doing some stuff on some listings, and you're like, hey, do you have this? Because this would make this easier. And I'm like, I have it, I just don't use it.
Right.
But now it made me think, okay, so now from now on we need to do that because it makes it easier for whoever's doing that part of it and putting it in and getting the stuff if that's together. So yeah, you're right. You learn from each other.
When it's like somebody with your experience, right? You had a different way to do it, and when you said it, it's like, that makes sense. You can do it that way. But now it's thinking like, okay, as we bring a team along, do they have the experience to do what you were talking about? Probably not. Yeah. Right? So for them, it's kind of like a training them on both systems so that they have now the benefit of the power partnership. They get the benefit of having both ideas and working with them both.
Right. No, you're right. Okay,
right.
so
Oh,
who
here
are the
we
partners?
go.
Let's go.
So we're probably just late to the party, guys. but when we started talking about power partners, I mean, in our opinion, the most under-recognized.
This is voted by the Ogre Network as the number one, as the
The
group.
most under-recognized power partner setup. Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg.
100%.
I mean, and again,
100.
is this big HR at its best? Martha Stewart kind of tapped out. She was at the height of her career. She's got like 87 businesses. She's talking to everybody. She's like, you know what? I need a little street cred. I need to reach a new demographic. Taylor Swift. I need to reach a new demographic.
Right.
So so Martha Stewart's like, watch this. Do a little insider trading. I'll go to hotel
Club Fed.
Club Fed, right? And I'll come out wearing a bandana, smoking a little hoo-ha, and hanging out with Snoop Dogg. And now
It works.
who would have pictured Martha Stewart and Snoop? I know, guys, we get it. Come at us. We're late, right? We're like 2 years late to 3 years late to the party. But we just stumbled upon it. And
We
it's
were just
amazing.
talking about it. It was just an amazing
Yes.
partnership. Because who would think this cook, house designer,
Right.
lady is not going to be hanging out with Mr. F the Police, Snoop Dogg,
D-O-double-G.
Smoke. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, really? That partnership's going to work?
So now as we analyze these partnerships, we've kind of identified, and breaking news. OG, before all of these, the power partner. This is going to blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready for the greatest power partnership of all time?
Pink in the brain.
Pink in the brain. How did we not? How did we not even think about that? I mean, it's right here, taking over the world.
But again, it's the dynamic of
Yes.
one intense guy and one super friendly guy. Like that's.
I think he's calling me Pinky. Is that your nice way to say that? I'm this guy.
Well, kind of.
Hey,
But-
know your role, and accept it, and hey, we make it work.
Well, look, you're Travis.
Yes.
Travis Kelsey, Mr. Fashionista, Mr.
Ooh.
Mr. Like to hang out, be friendly.
Is Old Navy considered fashionista Target? I mean, listen, great brands. If they want to sponsor the show, they're more than welcome to. All right.
Snoop Dogg.
So when you start to look at Snoop Dogg and Martha, you start to look at
Jason and Travis.
Martha and Snoop Dogg. Jason and Travis. Who is Max? Who is Checo?
Jason is definitely Max.
Jason is Max. Travis
sure.
is Checo.
Right.
Okay. Who's
Martha is definitely Max.
Martha's Max.
100%.
Snoop Dogg.
It's
Snoop
Checo.
Dogg is definitely.
He's sitting back in his chair just chilling. Like he doesn't care.
Oh,
So I'm telling you.
So who's Taylor Swift? Is she Max or Checo?
I would think she is. Ooh. I would say she's low key Max.
Yeah, she's got to be.
Cause she's got the power.
Travis doubled down on being Checo.
Yeah,
He
he
knows
loves
his
his
role.
He
He's
loves
down.
his role.
I mean, even Mahomes and Ma'ato, he's still Checo. He's making a life out of being Checo.
He loves being Checo, no matter what he does. He's good with that.
Embrace your role. Love it.
You know what? But I've been talking about this particular dynamic for probably 3 to 4 years, because I first heard this dynamic, and now it's funny because now it's coming full circle because you're seeing it, because you're looking at it, right? So everything you look at expands,
Right.
right? But like 2-3 years,
Does it now?
well, it depends on how close you look. Jesus Christ.
This podcast is rated R, folks.
Gary V. You know Gary V, right?
Come on now, guys.
I just want to make sure you know him.
Come on.
But he talked about this like 3 years ago. And he said that. He said every good company, including his, like every good brand, every good company has a number 1 and a number 2, and they don't compete over who's 1 and 2.
Right.
Like they know who's 1, who's 2, and everybody's comfortable in their role, and they're just about how do we move things forward, and we know our roles and we know who's going to be what. It's just how do we do it.
Yeah.
So I've always been saying that for a long time because, like, 2-3 years ago, not everybody likes or wants to be a number one.
Mm-hmm.
Like not it's not everybody's role. Like a lot
I
of
get
people
it.
don't like the risk that you have to take as being a number one. Let's get away from just the power and I'm number one or whatever, because it's really not about that. It's like, who's the risk taker? Who's the
Right.
one going to take the chances and say, hey, I think we can do this, versus who's going to be like, hold on, let's take a step back, let's analyze this. Sometimes in business you have to, right? You
Right.
have to take a step back and analyze things, and sometimes you just let's just go for it, and if it
Right.
works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, then we'll start over again.
For sure, absolutely.
So I think that's where Gary said it, and now you're looking at everybody, and it was like the race, the F1 race was perfect. I mean, Checo was racing; he was there, number one. He got passed up by, what's his name?
Leclerc.
Eclair.
Eclair, yep. Eclair in that red looking car.
Yeah, there you go.
Also known as Ferrari.
So he got into second spot,
Yeah.
and then Max was in third. And Max turns a corner, and it wasn't even a question like, "Hey, I'm on your right." Like, I'm sure by the time Checo turned around, he was like, "Oh, I guess that's how it's gonna work."
Hey, go.
He was right past him, and then on the next turn, he went right past Leclerc, and he just took off. And it was like, okay, now he's in first space.
I was dying this morning when Mercy was telling me her favorite part of the race, because she was obviously not, Max ruffled some feathers, and maybe that was him just playing the villain, the number one card, little get his name out there. Checo
Right.
comes in waving to everybody, brings everybody back.
Right.
Maybe it was just a giant
Show me the
setup.
Checo wave again. That's what he did.
So, but Mercy's favorite part, you got to tell me it again. I die laughing at it.
So when he passed on the first turn,
When Max did, yeah.
well, when he passed the
And
Leclerc
he pushed him out.
and pushed him out,
Yeah.
he was complaining. Leclerc, of course, was complaining about he pushed me and
Of
whatever.
course.
And then they were going back and forth over what the penalty was going to be.
Right.
And then they come over the radio and they're like, they just gave you a 5-second penalty. Max, they gave you a 5-second penalty. And his answer was, send him my regards.
Dude, what if that was the best comment, dude? What a baller comment. The stewards are like, we're going to penalize you 5 seconds. He's like, that's it? Please. It's like, I'm already 10 seconds ahead.
You could have given me a 10-second penalty. I still would have won.
And it's funny is that I hope you guys start to maybe go back. I think you might go back and watch the series. And it's funny because I've been joking with some of my buddies because we've been watching. Some of my buddies have been fans of it for a long time. I started watching it a couple years when Netflix came out. I got into it pretty good. And I like it. But Max has been so, Lewis Hamilton was dominant for a long ass time. But now Max
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, and he's the Tom Brady, right? But Max is like the Patrick Mahomes, right? He's the hot, the last couple seasons, he's unbeatable. And we started joking that maybe he started falling off the pole a little bit in qualifying, maybe like 5th or 6th or 7th, even a little bit, messing with his car to get the, just go ahead and change it. It'll drop you to 12th. We're good. Right. And he's still winning from there. We thought maybe he's just doing that stuff on purpose just to make it racing a little bit more intense again, because it's dude, when he gets pole, sometimes he'll win by 15 plus seconds. So it's man, he was probably bored. He's probably solving Rubik's Cubes out there hitting turn 17.
I bet you he was probably the most excited when he dropped to 11.
Just so he could pass everybody.
Yeah, I think that when he went in for a pit stop and he got the 5-second penalty, and we're watching when he pit stopped, because we're not huge fans. I'm gonna go back and watch the documentary because I want to see it. But I know one thing that they do is they change tires super fast.
I mean, you're talking in and out in 3 seconds or less.
No, 2.5 seconds or better. I mean, they're fast, and all of a sudden he pulls in. And the guys are just looking. Yeah. They're just looking at the car, and we're screaming at the TV. We're like, "What are you guys doing?"
You got to serve it first before you can touch it.
Right. And then he waited his 5 seconds. Then he went and got it and got done, and boom. And I think he dropped to 11th. And then we're like, "Oh, okay." So he dropped to 11th. Let's see what he does now. And it was incredible.
On, baby. I think he thrives off that.
I think he thrives off of that. I think he knows. So I think that the partnership, right? Because it's all about a plan, right? I think him and Checo have a plan. They know how they're going to do this. They know their roles. They know what they're going to do. And it's just, okay, how do we get from point A to point B? It's kind of like we do it, right? So we know there's a plan. And there's things that I execute on. There's things you execute on. And we know what our plan is. And we know what the destination is. The destination is to help as many people as we can.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right?
Right.
Help as many either first-time home buyers or help as many agents to grow their business, or help as many investors. It's just to help as many people as possible. And we're looking at always what's the plan to get there.
Well, and I think what's cool about some of these people is that you watch it in business, and I think this is what kind of starts to separate, teams, power partners, real estate groups, whatever industry you're in. Like I know a handful of people, in the art industry, military divisions, government positions, right? And it's like, it's almost like he who thrives in crisis, like is the champion, and I know it's kind of an easy thing to say, but it's like, I feel like you do your best work when a challenge hits.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think like you're kind of like Max, like you're bored. If you get pole position, like you're like, this is dumb. Like let's start. You're already looking at next week. Like do something else, right? But like so you have a deal in escrow right now.
Right.
83 units, 83,
Correct.
84
83
units. We're talking $9.5 million escrow,
Yep.
right? Things start to go, not even go like south, just like there starts to be a little movie, some more moving pieces. All of a sudden, we got to be a little bit more creative. We got to do some work here. We got to think a little bit.
Right.
You wake up at 2:30 in the morning. You wake up with a brainiac idea. You come in and you got the whiteboard out and you're drawing. What I can only imagine, like the quad equation, or how they Einstein, how he made a light bulb. Thomas Edison's light bulb design is now on the whiteboard. But to you, it made perfect sense, and you saw the big picture. And like that's where I think some people, it's like you jump first, like you jump into the point, you're like, I'll figure out how to swim. You jump into a $9.5 million escrow, knowing that you'll be fine. But like when this thing did hit, you didn't panic, you didn't drown.
Right.
You're just like, dude, and you started, going full Rain Man on the board. You're like, boom, bam, boom, 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 and I'm like, nailed it. I'm just like, so the marker's purple. Does that have does that matter at all? Right? And you explained it to me again. I'm
Right.
like, okay, yeah, no, I get it now. But it's like, I do think that there's a lot of, and again, maybe it is that power partnership, but these people that, like Max and, your Mahomes and your people like Tom Brady for years, like they do their best work in critical moments where other people are like, hey, this did not go according to plan. In an escrow and in real estate, like hardly anything ever goes according to plan.
Right.
Right. So it's like, I think that's the difference maker, is that knowing that one, you have a team, but knowing you have the ability to slow down, catch your breath, and make a decision and analyze things. Because some people are like, oh my God, this guy, and that's me sometimes.
Right.
Like,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, I go down a hole sometimes.
Yeah, you come in on
then-
Mondays. I'm going down a rabbit hole right now. I'm like, why? I sent an email. I wasn't supposed to. Okay, whatever. We'll
The
fix
old
it.
reply all button, folks. That thing's. You know what? I think like reply all should be a
30-second delay?
No, two-step authentication program. Like there should be a security device. Like you got to do a thumbprint and a retinal scan. Like okay, your reply all has been accepted, because luckily it was not even close to the end of the world what other people send out. But man, could you imagine that reply all button has gotten some people in some trouble.
Oh yeah, it's funny that you say that, because there was there's a commercial on ESPN I saw this morning, right? And it has Marcia Shant from the Golden Knights and stuff, and they're all going into a penalty box, and a sportscaster comes in from ESPN, and they're like, "What are you here for?" And Marcia Shant's like, icing or sticking somebody or whatever, and then they ask him, "What are you in for?" He's like, "I hit reply all to a company email." So yes, that's a common thing that creates issues. But you're right? So not everything is rosy in a transaction.
Right.
Not everything's rosy in real estate.
Right.
And now that you say it out loud, because we hadn't talked about it, but now that you say it out loud, it makes sense. Like I thought Verstappen was like, oh, I would drop into 11th. Okay, now it's a race.
Yeah.
When I was in second place, it wasn't a race. I was going to overtake first place. We knew that, and I was going to stay ahead of everybody. But now that I'm down to 11, now I got to work to get to number one again. Once I'm at number one, that's it. And you're right. Like I thrive under pressure.
Oh yeah.
I need that pressure. If I don't have that pressure of something maybe going wrong, then it's not. It's like whatever. It'll go. I know it'll close. I know the team. That's because I've built a team around us, right? We've built a team that we have. Everybody knows what they need to do.
Right.
So for the most part, if I don't get involved, it's because things are just going. Even if there's minor hiccups in the process, I'm not involved. I get involved when it's a massive issue they're like, oh no, how are we gonna fix this? Then it's like, oh, I have to work now. Let's get this on. It's game on now.
Yeah, and it's not, like
it's like Tom Brady
it's
being
almost
down
like,
28 points in the Super Bowl to the Falcons.
Right, and it's kind of like you look at people and you look at them and you see like 3 people going, and you're like, ooh, this is where I strike, because they're like, well, what? And you just come and you're like, here you guys go. Yeah, dude, I think that's it, and it's funny to watch that, and you go back to the fact that it doesn't matter what industry it's, whether you're selling cars, selling art, selling houses, mortgages. It's like
whether you're Tom Brady in a Super
thrive
Bowl,
off that.
whether you're Tom Brady in a Super Bowl down in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
and you come back to win, whether you're Verstappen, you get his 5-second penalty, ends up in number 11, and ends up winning.
I mean, he did drive pretty much right at him. They say he got his front axle right. Hey, listen, I'm Team Red Bull. Maybe he did just be like,
yeah. Oh, I'm sure he did it. No, he did it just to
push
prove
this
a
guy
point.
off. Watch this.
Well, because remember, Ferrari was all because they were supposed to have pole spot 1 and 2 until the penalty here
until the Ninja Turtles popped up out of the the valve cover.
Yes, until that happened. So I'm sure he was like, yeah, I'm just going to show you who really should. If I really want to win, how I can win. Yeah. And then they dropped him back, and then he's like, oh, okay.
So you're thinking maybe since Sainz got a 10-spot penalty, Verstappen's like, listen, I'm going to win, but I don't want to win so easy. I'll go ahead and push Charles off, take a penalty. He was probably hoping for 10 seconds, to be honest.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Max was probably like, I hope they give me 10 seconds just so I can come back and win. I've kind of made some comments about how this race is not the greatest and fans aren't going to appreciate it like they do elsewhere. So he kind of set himself up to be the villain just to come back and win everybody right back over.
I think so.
I think he's
genius, dude.
So
he's the brain.
He's the brain.
He's the brain.
He figured it out. Cheat code
Pinky
Max.
in the brain. I'm telling you, figured it out. All right. Well, you have a happy Thanksgiving this week.
We need some mashed potatoes, some stuffing, some corn.
And I hear you're having turkey.
Ooh, late addition to the roster. We're getting a turkey.
There you go. I got mine. I got mine this weekend. So have a good one, brother.
See you, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.